Hello, it's sandybstitcher here for the March book review. It is Sunday, March 31st. Hey, I thought that March was supposed to go out like a lamb. Apparently not in northern Ohio. It snowed last night, and it's been snowing off and on today. And it's cold. It's probably in the 20s out there. I thought it was spring. Oh well. Ready to do my book review for this month. I've read a couple of books and I'm in the process of reading a couple more. So I thought I would get right to this. All right. First book I'm going to review is Alaskan Holiday by Debbie Macomber. I am going to give this book a 4. It's a very easygoing love story, just like all Debbie Macomber's are. When you're looking for something that's light reading, that you don't have to remember a ton of characters and you don't have to get too awfully involved in anything, Debbie Macomber is a really good author to read. I would kind of say summer reading, because people, like beach reading, you don't want to, really have to think too much. Alaskan Holiday was a really good book. I really enjoyed it, so I would recommend it. So there's that one. This is a new book. I picked this up at the library, and let me see what the date is in here, 2018. Okay, now the next book. I loved this book. This is one of the best books that I have read in a long time. If I can get the words out, I'll be able to tell you about it. Anyways, I'm giving this book a 5. It's that good. It is called The Red Address Book by Sofia Lundberg. And I think she was it Swedish? Yes, she lives in Sweden. This was her first novel. And oh my gosh, was it good. I look forward to more books coming out from her. This again is a new book I got at the library. It was copyrighted in 2017, but the English translation is 2019. What a good book. This story is, I wanted one word, if I had to describe this, I would say amazing. This is the story of a 96-year-old woman. And then there's a secondary character in here of her great niece, Jenny. Jenny lives in the U.S., and Doris, the 96-year-old woman, lives in Sweden. And this 96-year-old woman has a red address book. And throughout her life, she has put people, she had a really, I would say, got to call it a rough childhood. And I don't want to go into too much detail because I want you to be able to find out about it in the story as I did. But she has an address book where she has people listed, and at 96, she's in failing health. She Skypes with her great niece Jenny, but Jenny is all the way over on the other side of the United States. She doesn't have any more family or friends left because she's 96. And I can relate to this because my mother lived to 97. And everybody that my mother had known was gone. So, I kind of understood that part of it. And I kind of went back and thought about my mom a lot while I was reading this. She tells the story of her life through her address book. And all the names that have a line drawn through them, and then it says dead. Like I said, amazing. If you read fiction, you have to go and read this book. If anybody says they don't like it, I will be really surprised, because it's amazing. I can't wait to find out if she has any more books out or coming out. I'm going to be checking into that when I take this back to the library. Really, really good book. Okay, the next book that I'm reading, and I'm getting close enough done with this one that I feel that I can go ahead and give it a rating and review it, and I won't bother to talk about it again on next month. But Sally Field, a biography called In Pieces. I'm going to give this book a 4. A 3.5 to a 4. I'm not going to say I loved it. I love Sally Field, but I'm not going to say I loved this book. And here's the reason why. I want to make sure I use the right words. When you read a biography of someone that you really, really like, an actress or a celebrity of any kind, and you really, really like them, admire their work, whatever. When you read their biography, you run the risk of finding out that they are not who you thought they were, or they don't live up to your expectation of what you thought their life was. And that's what happened when I started reading this book. The first part of the book, I don't like the way it was written. She beats around the bush a lot about things that happened in her childhood. And she does admit throughout this book that things that happened in her childhood had a very distinct effect on how she acted and who she was and what she thought of herself. And I think that she had very, very, very low self-esteem. And it could just be that those things that happened in her childhood are things that I think she's 70. She's older than me, and I'm 70. There are probably some things that she has not yet dealt with or accepted, even at her age that she is now. And at the time of writing this book, I think that's why there was so much. She doesn't come right out and say, this is what happened. She beats all around the bush about it, or uses euphemisms, or I don't know how to explain it. I just didn't like the way it was written. My opinion, someone else may feel differently. When she gets into talking more about other parts, then I think she opens up a little bit more when she's getting up towards her adult years. I found out while reading this book, she had an abortion at 17, right before she started filming Gidget. And any of you older ones, you'll remember she was in a TV show called Gidget in the 60s and a TV show called The Flying Nun in the 60s. I didn't really ever watch either one of those shows. This was the 60s. I was a teenager in the early 60s and mid 60s, and we didn't get to watch what we wanted to watch on TV. My father ruled the TV. There was one TV, black and white, and my father said, this is what we're going to watch on TV. I remember when the Beatles were on Ed Sullivan and stuff, I had to beg and cry to please let me watch it. And there were occasions where he did break down and let me watch something on TV. But for the most part, what you watched on TV was what Dad said you were going to watch on TV. So anyways, I'm still finishing the book up. In this book, at this point, you can see where I'm most of the way through it. I only have this much left to go. She hasn't met Burt Reynolds yet. She hasn't got that far. But I don't know, if you like Sally Field, you probably should read it. But if you're not a Sally Field fan, don't bother. There's nothing in there that would be pertinent. Okay, the next book that I'm reading, and this book I will be reading over probably several months. I started this quite a while ago, and it's one that I read one chapter out of it maybe a couple of times a week. And it's called All the Women in the Bible, or of the Bible. And it's written by M.L. Del Mastro. I'm going to say Mastro. This book is very well written. What it does is in the beginning of the book, there's a whole, let me see how far that goes. Okay, it's back here. In alphabetical order. Okay, this much of the beginning right here. This, in alphabetical order, lists all the women of the Bible. And it tells a little, just a small smidgen of the facts about that person in the Bible. And that part is called the Book of Names. And so basically, to use an example of something that's not very long here, let me find something that you might, I don't want to get into a long paragraph, but all right, here's one called Candace. And it says it's a title meaning queen. This was probably not the personal name of this ruler of the Ethiopians. Her chief treasurer, an unnamed Enoch, was converted to Christianity and baptized by the deacon Philip upon returning from a pilgrimage to Jerusalem. And then it gives you a listing of where in the Bible you would find out about Candace. And some of them have many things listed where you're going to, and it tells you, you know, like this one says Acts chapter 8 verse 27. The next section of the book is called the Book of Stories, and that's exactly what they have done. They have taken, and it's still in alphabetical order, they've taken each one of the women and they tell a story. The story is based on what's in the Bible, but it's written in a more modern story type form, not fact form. It's not what you would read in the Bible about that person. They tell a story, and I love that, because if you're just, and I am a religious person, but sometimes just sitting and reading stuff in the Bible can be kind of dry, and you may not follow what it's saying. But this book takes these women, puts them into a story, and then tells you that story about them. And it's based on what is in the Bible. At the end of the story, it will then list all of the scripture references about either the woman or any other people that they've talked about in this story in regards to her. And so that you can then, if you choose to, go to the Bible and read the actual Bible passages. I think that is really nice. And I've enjoyed the stories. And the way, this past week I read about Delilah. And if you're a church-going person, you know that's the story of Samson and Delilah, about how she lured him, and for a payoff, she found out what would take his strength away, and then cut his hair off. And so it told the story, but it told it in a way that, like, I was sitting and reading a novel, and I enjoyed it. So I'm not quite halfway through this, so I probably won't talk about it again until I get to the end, and I'll give it a rating. But right now, I like it. This book is copyrighted 2006. That edition was. It was actually from earlier than that. saw that and then I closed it. The original copyright was 2004. Where I got this book, and I've gotten several other books, is a place called Ollie's, O-L-L-I-E-S. If you have an Ollie's store near you, then you'll know what I'm talking about. We have one in Sandusky, and basically it's a store that sells a lot of overstocks, overruns. Some of the stuff is seconds, but they have a huge book department, and a huge section of that book department is religious books. And if you have children and you're looking for children's books, tons of them, workbooks, interactive books, and every kind of Bible that you would want to find, and study guides and all kinds of things like that. And I just recently was there and bought a couple of more books from there. I bought a book about John McCain, and I bought another religious book that I'll be sticking in here sometime in the future. But all the women of the Bible, very good. And that's all I have for this time. I've also been reading some magazines. I'm still far behind on my magazines. I think I'm, maybe up to June or July, but I don't tend to pick up the magazines too much. Between my crochet, my stitching, and the reading of the books from the library, and the books I have on my bookshelf, and the books that I've got upstairs that I got from the thrift stores, the magazines kind of get shoved behind. So that's it for this month. Hope you're having a great day. Hope it's not snowing where you are. It is supposed to get better. Tomorrow I think we're supposed to be in the 40s. And the rest of the week, although they are showing rain several different days, the temperatures are supposed to be up into the 40s and 50s. So take care, everybody. As always, I send out my love and hugs to you all. And I will either see you on my next stitching video, or I will see you on next month's book review. Take care. Bye-bye.